Uber product manager Nimisha Sharath said that knowledge about AI is not a choice, it's a necessity for her livelihood. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I completely agree. Today, let's take a look at how Nimisha uses AI to stay ahead of the competition, where AI is going, and AI tools I use, and a demo of a free tool that lets you study and even listen to any topic as a podcast within minutes. Okay, so Nimisha is a product manager at Uber, and she says she uses AI to automate about 30% of her job. Imagine getting like a day and a half of extra time back. She estimates that AI saves up to 100 minutes a day on meeting follow up. And she says that AI helps her focus on human aspects like relationship building and stakeholder management. And in many jobs, people often underestimate how much time you need to spend on these things, especially in people centric jobs such as product management. Okay, she says that she's been leading the immigrant life for 8 years. She was on a student visa when she moved to the US to pursue her master's degree. And then she moved to a work visa when she became a data scientist for Microsoft. She was a data scientist there for a few years, and then she essentially transferred to become a product manager. So then she moved from Microsoft to Instacart, a startup, because she wanted to try startup. And she also says that making that kind of move from a company as secure as Microsoft is not something that a lot of people in her position do. It worked out for a while, but there were layoffs at the company and I lost my job. Now, I can relate to this because I've been at both big companies and small companies and startups. And I've been at startups where there have been layoffs. I've been at big companies where there have been layoffs. When layoffs happen, whether it's a big company or a small company, it can often feel like it's a really bad situation. But in all of those times, at least for me, and I think for her, it seems as well, if you can make the best of that situation, it can work out really well for you. You do get opportunities in startups, for example, that you don't often get in other places. But let's just see what she says. She had about 90 days to find a job or leave the country. It was very harsh, and the job market was bad at the time, and it took a lot of grit and hard work. But she ended up accepting an offer as a product manager at Uber, and she's in the road safety group. Then she says that a lot has happened in the AI world since I left Instacart, and that's true. AI is progressing rapidly. There's many versions as chatbots, including Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT, and she didn't have AI automation in her last role. Now, the next part I think is critical. She says knowledge about what AI is and how it can be misused does not feel like a choice at the moment. As a product manager, it's important to learn about it. And as an immigrant, I feel it's a necessity. I really need to know how it's going to be affecting my livelihood. And I think it's key to staying in this country. Now, I think Nimisha is being really smart here. She understands the power of AI and she knows that you either get with the program or you get left out. To be competitive in the new world, you absolutely need to stay up to date with AI. I've said before, you need to be using AI every day and figure out how you can get the most leverage, the most benefits from AI. And she also said that when looking for a job, it's important that a huge part of your role isn't likely to be automated in the future. It should need a lot of human involvement. And I think this is important to note. Yes, AI can help you a lot, but you should be also focusing on the areas that AI cannot easily replicate so that your entire role doesn't get automated away. Now, Namisha says she's been able to automate about 30% of her role. And let's take a look at how. She says she's in a lot of meetings and AI takes the meeting notes and then it even summarizes them. So she's able to figure out who said what and who is leaning toward what decision. Saves her from taking specific notes and even sending them out to people so that they're on track. AI does it all for her. It saves her about 15 to 20 minutes after every meeting. So that can be a lot. And a lot of these people centric roles, like product management, their meetings, your calendar is typically filled brim to brim, day to night with meetings. And so now she doesn't have to pull all the stuff together and mail it to people, make sure everyone's on the same page. Because product management is a role that is often like the glue in a product or a service, keeping everyone together. So in total, she saves about 100 minutes a day attending about 4 to 5 meetings per day. So imagine what would you do if you saved an hour and a half or so every single day? How could you use that to be more productive? How could you use that to gain a competitive edge? Now, this is also important. She says that she's also able to upskill at a very fast pace. She says that she can read research papers in a matter of minutes as opposed to a few hours and be able to understand what the research is about. If it's about a specific solution area she wants to explore, and do a complete SWOT analysis. SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. That's often done in things like product marketing, product management, and business to figure out whether they should build something or not. Now, in this video later on, I'm going to actually show you a free tool that you can use to quickly research a complex topic and even turn it into a podcast in a few minutes. It's really cool and interesting. She's able to provide strategy decks with much more information and conviction as opposed to a few years earlier when they had to spend a lot of time doing a ton of research. Now, one thing she also emphasizes is that she has more time for the human side of the job. And I think she has a lot of insight, and this is good advice here. When I started out as a clueless employee, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the human side of the job. I mean, I was nice to people, but I didn't understand things like interpersonal dynamics, organizational politics. And when you get into people centric roles, management roles, if you want to climb the career ladder, it's critical that you invest a lot of time into things like organizational dynamics, maintaining relationships, building trust. All of these things are critical if you want to advance in your career to higher levels. Some of you out there may not like it. You may think that you don't want to put in time to do some of these things. And I completely understand. I used to think that too. I used to think that, hey, if I just do my job really well, people are going to notice. And that's not the case. No. So depending where you are in the organization, you probably have to spend more than 50% of your time on these kind of things, I would say. And so I think Nimisha's smart because she's saying, hey, I can use AI to offload me from doing this tedious, less strategic work and invest more time in things like relationship building and stakeholder management. These are all critical aspects of a role like product management. She says that you're the glue that holds 7 or 8 different kinds of teams together. Why would an operations teams ever work with a data science or design team? They wouldn't really. But as a product manager, they have the capacity to bring all of these people together and create magic. And if you're doing the job well as a product manager, that's exactly what you're doing. She also says that judgment is something that can never be eliminated by AI. Now, I'm not sure exactly what she means by this. I think, yes, for the foreseeable future, you will need human supervision. You can't trust AI completely yet. It has issues such as hallucinations. But many times you can see that AI is able to deliver pretty good decision making and judgment even today. So it's unclear what she means by this. I'd be a bit cautious about this statement. And the reason she says that is because if AI is trained on the entire world's data, then the data is available is still biased. It's never going to be 100% representative about everybody's thoughts and opinions. And my counter argument to this would be, well, neither are we humans. We're biased based on the information we've accumulated over our lifetime. So this paragraph, I'm not so sure about. I do agree though that for the foreseeable future, judgment, decision making, these are things that you want to put yourself in a position where you are the one that are responsible for those things. So those jobs, so that can't as easily be automated away, at least for now. He also says it's inevitable that parts of roles will be automated away, and I agree with this. I think we should all be ready and all prepared. Instead of waiting for AI to come and encroach on your job, become the person who uses AI to do your job better. Completely agree. I think she's really smart about this point. Now, let's take a look at this article that talks about the top AI tools that can be useful, particularly in an office environment. I'll quickly mention the ones that I use today, and those are ChatGPT. I use a subscription for ChatGPT. And then I use Google and I use Grok AI. Google AI is especially useful. We'll talk about that here because it's pretty much comes with Google search engine. And I'll also demo NotebookLM today because I think it's a really interesting tool and it's free, so anyone can use it. Okay, so here I have this very recent study published by McKinsey about how superagency in the workplace will empower people to unlock AI's full potential. Now, let's just take a pause and understand where AI is currently and where it's going. The hype is around generative AI. So these are things like ChatGPT or Gemini or Anthropic and Claude and things like this that actually generate content or images or video, right? That's why it's called generative AI because it can generate these things for you. If you're a product marketing person, if you're a product manager, you can use generative AI to generate documents. It can review meetings, understand the participants of the meetings, generate action items. You can generate a marketing requirements document, a product requirements document. You can generate graphics if you're a graphic designer. You can even use generative AI today or LLMs to analyze spreadsheets. For example, if you're a data scientist, a data analyst, an accountant, if you are an executive administrator, you can use generative AI to create a plan, for example, for an event. You can put together agendas. It's just really, really powerful what you can do with generative AI. But where AI is going is to be more than just producing things. It's called Agentic AI. And with Agentic AI, the AI is actually going to be able to do stuff for you as well. And that's part of what this study talks about. Okay, so that's where AI is going. It's not quite there yet today. There are agentic AIs that can, for example, browse the web for you and do all kinds of things. And I think we're going to get there very soon. But right now, it's still a bit kludgy. Okay, so let's pretend that we are looking at this research paper. It's a long paper. We know it has some useful stuff in it. And let's take a look. Okay, I'm going to scroll down and say, wow, this got 5 chapters. It talks about how companies are investing in it, but just 1% believe they're at maturity. Wow, there's a lot of good information in here. And it talks about how employees are more ready for the change than their leaders might be. 3 times more employees are using AI for their work than their leaders imagine. So the leaders are actually behind the curve here. It looks like millennials are 1.4 times likely to report extensive familiarity with Gen AI tools than their peers and other age groups. Hey, good job for millennials. Okay, so you can see that this is a really great report published by McKinsey, a lot of good information. They've done a survey, so it's based on real data. They talk about all the different kinds of AI that's been coming, where AI is going, how intelligent reasoning are improving. They're talking about agentic AI, which I just mentioned, how hardware innovation is happening. So a lot of look, I could scroll down through this for a long, 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 long time. You get the picture. There's a lot of great information. And by the way, all of the links are going to be in the description. So you can look at every single link. I try to do that for every single video. So feel free to take a look. But let's say, well, I don't have the time to read through all this. What can I do? You can go to Google's Notebook LM. Okay, so I'm going to click on Try Notebook LM and it goes to my notebooks. Now you can see I did an example earlier of this project, but I'm just going to create it from new so you can see exactly what I did. I'm going to click on Create New. And here you can see that it's asking me for the sources. So this is where you can add documents from Google Drive, whatever you have. You can add links from a website, or you can even just copy and paste text in there. So I'm just going to simply paste in the website for the research report for the study, and boom, there we go. You can see that I get a whole thing about AI Superagency in the workplace in the chat. From here, I can add a note if I want to. I can add an audio overview. We're going to get to that shortly. I can create a briefing doc. And here's some handy little things on the side. So, well, let's say I want a timeline. I can click on timeline. If I want to click on an FAQ, a frequently asked questions, I can do that. If I want to generate a briefing document, I can do that. I'm just going to do it all. If I want to create a study guide to understand what this is all about, I can do that. Okay, that just happened really quickly. And now if I take a look at the timeline, let's click on it and see, okay, here's the timeline of the entire report. It tells me what happened and when, the main events of the story. Wow, this is really great. Gives me the cast of characters, Reid Hoffman, Greg Beto, Anna Meyer, Mark Benioff, Bill Gates. This is fantastic. So I know exactly what happened. I know exactly who's in it. Let's take a look at this comprehensive guide and see what's in here. So this guide actually is a study guide. It provides succinct questions to help me understand whether I really know what's in the report. So I get the questions and there's even an answer key. So if you want to create something that shows that you really understand something, or you want to just do it for someone else, this is a very, very fast way to do it. If you just want to get the key points, you can simply go into the briefing and it summarizes everything really nicely for you, including an intro to what it's all about, its key themes and ideas, what are the key advancements in AI, and it even brings out key statistics and facts. These are often very useful if you're preparing some kind of report. For example, 92% of companies plan to increase their AI investments in the next 3 years. So, this is a nice brief summary that distills everything into a very succinct, easy to understand briefing. I think you'll agree that reading this is probably a lot easier than reading all of this. But wait, there's more. Remember how I said there's a lot happening with agentic AI? Let's see if this report actually says anything about agentic AI. And here you go. It gives me all the details about what this research says about agentic AI as being a significant step forward in AI capabilities. It has autonomous action, goes beyond data synthesis, integration with other products. So you can see on and on. So if I want to go deep, all I have to do is basically start asking questions about things I care about. Let's say I want to figure out, well, I noticed that Bill Gates was in the report. Let's see, what does this say about Bill Gates? Yeah, and it says that, well, Bill Gates is basically comparing the adoption of AI to the adoption of automobiles. And you can see here the great thing is when I hover over some of these things, it actually points me directly to the sources so I can verify whether what the AI is telling me is correct or in context of what I'm asking. But wait, there's even more. Remember how I said you can convert this to a podcast? So it's all well and good. You can create briefing documents, timelines, study guides, query it like you're asking questions. But if I want to convert this into a high quality podcast, I can do this with the click of a button. I just click on this audio overview button, click it, and you can see that it's going to generate. And it just takes a few minutes. So let's wait for this to generate in a few minutes. Okay. And now you can see that the audio podcast has been completed. Let's give it a whirl and see.
Okay, get ready, because this is going to be big. Today, we're diving into AI and how it's changing the workplace. And I'm not talking about like robots taking our jobs. This is way bigger. AI that can like actually think, reason, summarize complex information, and even make decisions. Like stuff that was basically sci-fi just a couple years ago. You shared the January 2025 McKinsey report on AI in the workplace, and wow, even I was kind of blown away.
Yeah, it really is remarkable how fast AI is changing. I mean, just look at ChatGPT. It hit 300 million users faster than like the early internet did. That kind of growth shows the potential here. A potential as big as like the Industrial Revolution.
Okay. Well, you can see it's getting in the intro. I'm not going to play the whole podcast right now. But you can see that it's a high quality podcast and it's a great way to consume information, especially if you're traveling, right? If you are like commuting to back and forth from work, all I have to do now is I can click on this little thing here, click download. It's going to download the audio file for me and I'm done. And I can listen to this at any time to consume it in the way that I want to. Now I could choose to consume it just by reading it here. I can ask questions if I want to. I can generate study guides or I can even listen to it as a podcast. And I'm going to include the entire podcast, by the way, the audio podcast at the end of this video, so you can see for yourself what the entire thing actually sounds like. But there's even more. I can now click on this interactive mode and you can see I can interact with this. Let's watch.
Ready. It's going to be big. Today we're diving into AI and how it's changing the workplace. I'm not talking about like robots taking our jobs. This is way bigger. AI that can like actually think, reason, summarize complex information. Oh, hey there, how can we help?
Yeah, I was actually wondering what role did Bill Gates have in this study? I wasn't quite sure why he was included. Could you talk to me about that a little bit?
That's a great question. I can see why you'd be curious about
Yeah, it's interesting because Bill Gates wasn't actually involved in the study itself.
it. Right, he didn't conduct the research or anything, but the report does quote him, like as an expert on technology.
What's fascinating here is that they use a quote from him to frame how to think about the risks of new technology.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's like he compares AI to the early days of cars.
Exactly. He points out that we didn't ban cars after the first accident.
Instead, we created things like safety standards and rules to manage them.
And the researchers are saying we need a similar approach with AI, managing its risks, not avoiding it.
So it's not like Bill Gates was part of the study, but his thinking is in there.
Yes, it's his kind of forward thinking approach to tech that they're highlighting.
That makes sense. It's like using his experience to help understand where we are with AI.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, they're saying don't be afraid, just be smart.
Okay, I think that helps me understand it better, And hopefully it does for you too.
Now, let's get back to the main discussion about how AI is changing the workplace.
So it's not just automating tasks.
Okay, I just paused that for a second. But you can see how even during the podcast, I can interrupt the podcast to ask questions and they go seamlessly back into the podcast. So I really think this is a underrated AI tool. Right now, it's completely free. So check it out for yourself if you're interested in the link to help you understand information, consume it. And write in the comments if you've tried it out and it worked for you. I'm always curious to hear what my viewers are thinking about. Appreciate your comments and your feedback. So put that in there.
So what you have to do is, number one, to realize that your safe office job isn't safe. You will be disrupted.
Resistance is futile. Your life, as it has been, is over.
You can try to resist change and be swept away, or embrace it and ride the wave. I use AI every day. I use it for research. AI can search the internet for information for questions that I ask. I don't use a research assistant. I use AI. I used Grok to help create the thumbnail for this video. Here, you can see how I asked Grok to generate a picture of Andy Jassy as a Terminator. It took less than a minute to give me 4 options. I don't use an artist. I use AI. But I wanted the portrait of a half human and half robot face, so I updated the prompt and presto. The video clips I use ChatGPT to automatically generate code that lets me download YouTube videos and converts it into a format for my video editor. I'm not a programmer, so to code that could have taken me maybe a week, but AI generated it in a few seconds. I don't use a software developer, I use AI. Today, I use AI to brainstorm ideas, do research, create graphics and pictures, create video clips, edit content, and write code. I don't make any money from YouTube though, so if you'd like to help me out and help this content reach a like-minded community, please like and subscribe. Right now, the main AI tools I use are OpenAI's ChatGPT and Grok from X. ChatGPT is my go-to for most things such as text, images, analysis, and coding. I use Grok if I want to get past the politically correct handcuffs that ChatGPT has, such as the ability to make graphics of famous people, or if I want to access real-time data on X. I use the paid versions, but most tools have free tiers, so start with those if you aren't using them yet. And if you want a larger view of what's happening in tech, check out the link to my previous video to see how I think the AI cycle will likely play out.
Okay, get ready, because this is going to be big. Today, we're diving into AI and how it's changing the workplace. And I'm not talking about like robots taking our jobs. This is way bigger. AI that can like actually think, reason, summarize complex information, and even make decisions. Like the stuff that was basically sci-fi just a couple years ago. You shared the January 2025 McKinsey report on AI in the workplace, and wow, even I was kind of blown away.
Yeah, it really is remarkable how fast AI is changing. I mean, just look at ChatGPT. It hit 300 million users faster than like the early internet did. That kind of growth shows the potential here. A potential as big as like the Industrial Revolution.
So let's get right to it. You want to know how AI is going to impact your work, right? Whether you're managing a team just starting out or somewhere in between, this deep dive is going to give you a clear picture. And trust me, this is not a conversation you want to miss.
The report starts by showing how transformative this change really is. McKinsey says AI could unlock a huge $4.4 trillion in productivity growth globally. To give you an idea, that's like the entire GDP of Germany. So we're not just talking about small improvements. This is about a total shift in how we work and do business.
Okay, wait. $4.4 trillion?
Yeah.
That number is almost impossible to even grasp. How does McKinsey come up with a number like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. This isn't just some random prediction. McKinsey actually breaks down how this growth is going to happen. They found that a big chunk of it, like around 30%, will come from totally reimagining business processes. Like think about things like supply chain management, customer service, even product development. These are areas that are perfect for AI.
So it's not just automating tasks. It's like changing how those tasks get done from the ground up.
Exactly. And then another 20% of that growth will come from AI making things more efficient in places like manufacturing and healthcare. Like AI-powered robots can work nonstop with human workers. And AI algorithms can analyze medical images to find diseases earlier and more accurately.
It's like we're on the edge of a whole new era of productivity. It kind of reminds me of all the hype around the internet back in the day. Some people thought it was just a fad.
Yeah, and they were so wrong. Remember dial-up modems and waiting forever for a website to load? It's easy to underestimate how powerful technology is when it's still new. And that's what McKinsey is warning us about with AI. The biggest risk isn't thinking too big, it's thinking too small.
So if some companies are hesitant about AI, are employees feeling the same way? Are people ready for this AI future, or are they kind of resisting it?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The report actually found that employees are more ready for AI than their bosses think. McKinsey found that employees are already using AI way more than leadership realizes. Think about that. Your team could be 3 times more engaged with AI than you think, using it for like 30% or more of their work every day.
Wow, I did not see that coming. You always hear about employees resisting new technology, not being ahead of their managers.
It's a really fascinating change, and it gets even more interesting. Almost half of employees actually want more AI training, but they're not getting the support they need from their companies. There's a real gap here.
So instead of worrying about employees pushing back against AI, companies should actually be worried about falling behind their own employees. That's a pretty big wake-up call.
It is, and this is where millennials come in. The report points out that millennial managers are often the ones who are most into AI. They get the technology, they see the potential, and they're in a good spot to connect leadership and the rest of the workforce.
That makes sense. They've grown up with technology changing so fast, so they're more comfortable adapting to new things.
Exactly. They're not afraid to experiment and push boundaries, which is exactly what we need in this new AI world.
This is all super exciting. But I know there are also concerns about AI, like potential bias in algorithms, security risks, and even the idea of AI systems like hallucinating or making stuff up. How does the report deal with these concerns?
You're right. Those are definitely valid concerns, and the report doesn't ignore them. But here's some good news. The report found that employees actually trust their own companies to get AI right more than anyone else, more than universities, more than big tech companies. Employees believe their employers are the best at using AI responsibly.
Wow, that's a big vote of confidence. So companies have a real chance here. They have their employees' trust, and they need to use that trust to move forward with AI in a bold but responsible way.
Exactly. And a big part of that is transparency. If we're going to trust AI with important decisions, we need to understand how AI makes those decisions. It's not enough to just have a black box giving us answers. We need to know the why behind those answers.
That makes total sense. It's like that saying, trust but verify. We need to understand AI's reasoning if we're going to really embrace it. But the report also says that most companies are still just testing AI out, like dipping their toes in the water but not really jumping in. Why is that?
One of the biggest reasons is that companies are still thinking too small. They're focusing on automating individual tasks instead of changing whole processes. They're doing small pilot projects instead of developing a big AI strategy.
So we need to think bigger, bolder, more transformative.
Yeah.
But what does that actually look like? Can you give us some real examples of companies doing AI right?
Absolutely. The report talks about some really cool examples of companies using AI to totally change their industries. Imagine robots working with humans on factory floors, not to replace them, but to make their work better and safer.
That's amazing. I can already see a future where manufacturing is way more efficient and safer. What else?
Think about the energy sector. AI algorithms are being used to figure out how much energy people are going to use and to optimize renewable energy. That leads to a more sustainable and efficient energy grid.
That's a game changer, especially now that we need clean energy more than ever.
Exactly. And then there's education. Imagine AI tutors that can teach each student based on their own needs and learning styles. That could completely change how we educate future generations.
I love that idea. AI could make education accessible and effective for everyone. But creating that kind of change takes time. It's not just about buying some new software. It's about changing the entire company for the AI age. So how do we even start to do something that big?
That's where McKinsey's framework comes in. They found 6 key areas that companies need to focus on: roadmap, talent, operating model, technology, data, and scaling. Each of these areas needs to be adapted for the AI age.
Okay, that makes sense. We need a roadmap to guide us, the right people to make it happen, the right technology and data to power AI, and a plan for making those AI systems work across the entire organization. But what are some of the biggest challenges that our listeners you should be thinking about right now?
Well, first of all, leadership needs to be on the same page about AI. It's not just about using technology, it's about rethinking the whole business. What role will AI play in your company's future? How will it change how you create value for your customers? These are questions that need to be answered at the top.
So we need leaders who not only understand tech, but who are also visionaries. They need to see the bigger picture and communicate that vision well.
Absolutely. And they need to get everyone on board. Because AI isn't just an IT project, it's a fundamental shift in how we work. That means getting everyone involved from the CEO to the front line.
I imagine that's easier said than done.
It can be, but it's super important if you want to avoid pushback and make sure your AI projects are successful. And then there's the talent gap. We need to train our current employees and attract new people with AI skills. And of course, managing the costs of all this can be tricky, especially with how fast things are developing.
And we can't forget about data. AI is only as good as the data it learns from. So companies need to have their data in order.
Exactly. You need good, accurate, and unbiased data to train your AI models. Otherwise, you risk creating systems that don't work or could even be harmful.
Wow, we've covered a lot here. But before we move on, let's think about you, the listener. This isn't just about some future AI is changing work right now. It's impacting your job, your industry, your career. So how are you going to respond?
That's the key question. This is happening now. Are you going to watch it happen, or are you going to be a part of shaping it? We'll talk more about that in part 2 of this deep dive.
So we just went through some pretty intense stuff about how fast AI is growing, how it's going to create trillions of dollars in value, and how employees are often ahead of their bosses in using it. I don't know about you, but my head's spinning a little. It's a lot to take in, but it's also really exciting.
It definitely is a time of fast change. But it's also a time of huge opportunity. You're right, we covered a lot. We talked about needing a roadmap, talent, adapting operating models and technology. It can feel overwhelming.
Exactly. Where do we even begin?
Right.
The report talks about 6 key areas companies should focus on: roadmap, talent, operating model, technology, data, and scaling. That's a lot. Can we break those down and see what they mean for someone trying to figure out this AI thing?
Absolutely. Let's start with roadmap. It sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised how many companies are jumping into AI without a plan. It's like going on a road trip with no map and no destination. You might enjoy the ride, but you'll probably get lost.
So it's more than just buying the latest AI software. Companies need to ask, what are we actually trying to do with AI? How will it help us serve customers better, create new products, or change our industry?
Exactly. That's where leadership matters. We need leaders who can explain a clear vision for AI, not just about the tech, but also about business and even society. It's not just about being efficient, it's about purpose.
I'm hearing a pattern here. Leadership seems really important in every part of this AI change.
You're totally right. And it's not just about having a CEO who gets AI. It's about having leaders at all levels who support AI, leaders who can inspire their teams and help people adapt to this new way of working.
Which leads us to talent. We talked about how employees are often more ready for AI than their bosses realize. But are companies doing enough to give their people the skills they need to succeed in this AI future?
That's a great question, and it's one every company should be asking. Because the truth is, the skills you need today might not be useful tomorrow. We need people who are constantly learning, adapting, and getting new skills, and that means having a culture of learning where people are encouraged to try new things, take risks, and embrace challenges.
I really like this idea of a culture of continuous learning. It's not just about going to a training once a year. It's about creating an environment where people are always trying to learn new things.
Exactly. And that kind of change needs support from leadership. Leaders need to do it themselves by being open to learning new things and by giving their teams chances to develop AI skills.
Okay, so we've got the roadmap, the talent. Now let's talk about operating model. What does that even mean when it comes to AI? Does it mean we all need to become programmers?
Not really, but it does mean that companies need to rethink how they do things. AI isn't just a tool to add to what you're already doing. It's going to totally change those processes.
Can you give us some examples of how AI might change the way companies work?
Think about decision making. In the past, decisions were usually made in a hierarchy. Information moved slowly up and down. But AI can analyze huge amounts of data and give you insights to make faster, more data-driven decisions.
So instead of relying on gut feelings or years of experience, leaders can now make decisions based on real-time data and predictions.
Exactly. And that can lead to organizations that are more agile, more responsive, and ultimately more successful. Another area where AI is having a big impact is collaboration. AI tools can connect people across teams, departments, and even continents. This lets them share knowledge, work together, and solve problems in new ways.
That's really interesting. It sounds like AI could help break down those walls within companies and create a more connected and collaborative environment.
It can. But it also means companies need to rethink their structures and processes. Do you have the right systems for this kind of AI collaboration? Are your teams ready to work with AI tools? These are things you need to figure out as part of your AI strategy.
It's all coming together now. We need a roadmap, the right people, and we need to rethink how we work to really use AI. But what about the technology itself? There are so many AI tools and platforms out there. How do companies choose the right ones?
That's where the technology part of the framework comes in, and it's important because choosing the wrong AI tech can be a big mistake. Companies need to really think about their needs and choose tools that fit their overall AI strategy.
So it's not just about following the latest AI trend or buying the most expensive software. It's about finding the tools that will actually help you reach your goals.
Exactly. And that means understanding the different kinds of AI technologies, what they're good at, what their limitations are, and how they can work with your current systems.
This is getting pretty technical. I'm starting to feel a little lost, to be honest.
I get it. It's a lot to learn, but remember, you don't need to become a data scientist to understand AI. The key is to have a basic understanding of the different technologies and to work with experts who can help you choose and use them.
That's good to hear. So we've talked about the roadmap, the talent, the operating model, the technology. What about data? We always hear data is the new oil. But what does that really mean for AI?
It means that data is what makes AI work. AI algorithms learn from data, and the quality of that data directly affects how well those algorithms perform. If you give an AI system bad data, you're going to get bad results. Garbage in, garbage out.
So companies need to have their data organized before they even think about using AI.
Absolutely. You need clean, accurate, and useful data. And you need systems to collect, store, and manage that data properly. This is where data governance is really important.
Data governance, what's that?
It's about setting up rules and procedures for how data is handled in a company. Who can access the data? How is it used? How is it protected? These are all questions that need to be answered as part of your AI strategy.
This is making me realize how complicated this AI thing really is. It's not just about technology. It's about people, processes, and data. It's about leadership, culture, and even ethics.
You're right. To use AI successfully, you can't just focus on the technical stuff. You need a plan that considers all these different things. And that's what makes it so challenging, but also so rewarding.
Okay, so we've covered 5 of the 6 key areas: roadmap, talent, operating model, technology, and data. What about the last one, scaling? What does it mean to scale AI in a company?
Scaling is about taking your AI projects from small experiments to using them across the whole company. It's about moving past just a few areas, using AI really well, and making AI a part of everything your company does.
That sounds like a lot of work. What are some of the challenges companies face when they try to scale AI?
One of the biggest is just how complex it all is. AI systems can be really complicated, and making them work with existing systems and processes can be a nightmare. There are often unexpected technical problems and pushback from people who are used to doing things a certain way.
The managing change is really important, right?
Absolutely. You need to bring people along, explain the benefits of AI clearly, and address any worries they might have.
This is where that trust we talked about earlier comes in. If employees trust their company to use AI the right way, they'll be more likely to accept these changes.
Exactly. And another challenge with scaling AI is that you need to keep checking and updating it. AI systems aren't set in stone. You need to keep an eye on them, update them, and improve them to make sure they're working like they should.
So it's not just about using AI, it's about creating a whole system for AI within the company.
Exactly. And that needs commitment from leadership, investment in the right resources, and a culture where people are always learning and getting better.
This has been really helpful. We went deep into the 6 key areas McKinsey talks about for companies to get ready for the AI age. But let's shift gears a bit and think about you, the listener. We talked a lot about what companies need to do, but what about individuals? What can you do to get ready for this AI-powered future?
That's a great question. and it's something we'll explore more in the next part of our deep dive. But here's a preview. It's all about having a mindset of always learning.
I'm sensing a theme here. Lifelong learning, adaptable, leadership responsible AI development. It seems like the key to navigating this AI revolution is to embrace change and be willing to always learn and grow. What do you think, listener? Are you ready to join us on this journey? Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've covered so much in this episode, from the incredible potential of AI to the challenges of using it responsibly. But now let's make it personal. What does all this mean for you, the listener, and for your career?
The McKinsey report makes it super clear this isn't just some far-off thing. AI is changing the workplace right now, and it's only going to get faster from here.
So it's not if AI will change your work, it's how.
Yeah. And that's where things get really interesting, because instead of being scared of this change, we can choose to see it as a chance to grow and reinvent ourselves.
Okay, but that's like easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
How do we actually embrace change when things are moving so quickly?
Well, the first step is simple but important. Commit to always learning. The skills you need today might be useless tomorrow, so you got to be constantly upskilling and adapting.
It's like that saying, the only thing that's constant is change.
Exactly, and that's true for your mindset just as much as your skill set. Be curious, be open to new ideas, and don't be afraid to try new things.
I love that it's about having that beginner's mind and being willing to push yourself outside your comfort zone.
The report also talks about how important it is to develop what they call AI mastery. This isn't just about knowing how to use AI tools, it's about understanding how AI actually works, its limitations, and the ethical stuff too.
So it's like being AI literate, being able to have those important conversations about how we create and use AI responsibly.
Exactly, and that's something everyone can do no matter what their job is or how much technical knowledge they have.
Okay, so lifelong learning, AI mastery. What else can listeners do to get ready for this AI future?
Well, one practical thing is to start exploring the AI tools that are already out there. There's so many amazing resources for everything from writing and research to coding and design.
And the best part is a lot of them are free or pretty cheap. You don't need a ton of money to start trying things out and learning.
Exactly. And don't just focus on the tech tools. There are also great AI-powered resources for stuff like personal productivity, managing your finances, and even health and wellness.
So AI can help us not just work better, but live better too.
That's the real promise of AI. It's not about replacing humans. It's about making us better and helping us do things we never thought possible.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
But it also brings up some important questions, like if AI can do so much, what happens to jobs in the future? What jobs will still be around? What new jobs will be created?
Those are big questions. And to be honest, nobody really knows all the answers yet, but we do know that the jobs of the future are going to need different skills, a different mindset, and a different way of learning.
It's almost like we're entering a new renaissance, a time of tons of innovation and change, but this time it's driven by technology.
I like that comparison. And just like back then, the people who are willing to adapt and learn will be the ones who do well.
So it's not just about learning new technical skills. It's about developing those uniquely human skills like creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence.
Exactly. Those are the things that make us different from machines. Those are the skills that will help us succeed in a world where AI is everywhere.
So instead of being afraid of the robots, we should be focusing on developing our own human superpowers.
Yeah, and those superpowers aren't just about doing well for ourselves. They're about creating a better future for everyone. A future where AI helps us solve problems, create opportunities, and make our lives better in ways that matter.
That's an inspiring vision, but it also means we have to be active in shaping this future. It's not something that's going to happen to us. It's something we need to build together.
And that's where you, the listener, come in. What are you going to do to master AI in your work? How will you stay up to date with how fast AI is changing? And most importantly, what's your vision for how AI can make your work not just easier, but more meaningful and impactful?
Those are great questions to think about. This deep dive was just the beginning. Keep learning, keep exploring, and be a part of building this amazing future with AI. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time as we explore something new. Until then.
But that's all we have time for today. For more tips that I can't share here, feel free to subscribe to my newsletter in the description. And if you found this video valuable, please like and subscribe. Until next time, stay savvy, my friends.